My energy, ecliptic. Love's circle persona. Self-love, best love, world love. You knows, my honor. Greetings, that be your host, Jamez Peter Bastian. And peace, prosperity, power. It's my honor to share my affirmation, visualization, and unison manifestation in all satisfactions. The mind, body, and soul is to grow in all facets. Presented in procreation, this is MB19 podcast show. May you be at peace in whatever the action is proclaiming, ascending the greatest of all satisfactions like your goal is a bullseye, your action is the dart. Believe in you no matter the ending or the start. For your life, such precious life, must you claim it. Beautiful day. We're breathing, so we're achieving. Today's episode, titled, No Excuses, No Complaints. I have such a grateful and thankful admiration for life and viewership that I have of being a man, and the viewership that I have in the masculinity that makes me the man, the logical approach that makes me the man. I learned years ago about complaining, and what is that and what is it exactly, right? So, to simplify, complaining is the factor of expressing your inner frustration or your inner frustration in regards to the outer circumstances, right? Whether it's people, places, and things, right? Whether the weather is bad, whether people treating you bad, whether it's a thing that's not working right. The fortitude of those things goes in that vertitude where you putting down the energy amongst the frustration that you're currently having among, again, people, places, and things, right? So complaining. Excuse would be more in a virtue of providing a reasoning to why something was not done, completed, or also if you look at excuse can somewhat comply into the notion of a lie because, right, excuses, I say accuse, excuses come on a virtue of not taking accountability, right, lacking ownership in a certain fashion. So, again, the difference with complaining is the expression of whatever the circumstance that you have an issue with, and then with excuses, it goes with the idealization that you're not taking accountability, right? So, going back for me and me expressing the masculinity and logical approach that I love about those things and how that correlates with being a man. So for me, I learned years ago about what is love for man, and off what we provide, what we create among structure and stability. That's where a man can find unconditional love, right? Because by people, placing in things, how we're able to be used and how we're able to assist our surrounding is really a man's calling in life, right? Our ability to affect other people's lifestyle, whether it's enhancement of an opportunity, enhancement and bettering those people, right? So for a man, when you get to a certain age, you see what the world acts of you, and you also see what you ask of the world. The emotional attachment that some men may have closeness to, whether it's money, car, clothes, you realize that's nothing morally that can showcase what sort of man is to be in due time, right? So how for me, I'm able to, I won't say I don't complain, I don't make excuses, but I'm able to catch myself very easily, years upon years upon practice and having that acknowledgement, because I would say the lifestyle that was brought to me since 12, 13 years old, being my own parent, finding solution, right? Having adult do me wrong more than I would do myself wrong in my young age, right? So those principles that comes with me comes from a spirit that's guiding and parenting my life, right? And me being the brain, I would say I'm more like the adventurer of this life that's unknown to me, but yet my spirit have everything set in stone for me, have everything galvanized for me, and how it's supposed to be going and how it's supposed to be operating. So because I had that mere early experience of having to take accountability for my life, understanding like by people placing the things where I place myself, whom I give my energy towards, is going to be a part of me manifesting either negative or positivity in my life, right? So because of that accountability coming to me early, for me to make excuses made me understand that this is only me not being accountable, not being mature enough to the circumstance that I'm dealing with, right? For me to complain amongst what hasn't been done or what hasn't been given to me is for me to be understand that I can't do for myself. So a lot of time what you realize in what I just said in those statement, right? For those who make excuses, it comes from that virtue of not having the realization of what life is, right? You're so young in mind from the perspective that the kids lie. You gotta understand why kids lie, right? Toddlers, whatever you want to call it. Their reasoning that they're lying is because it's on the virtue of like, hey, I don't want to look like a bad person to my family, right? And feeling like, okay, whatever I did or whatever I said could be wrong, so let me just make sure I'm not in trouble, right? But what what they don't realize is that, yeah, kid, you're just a human. Like you're not perfect. Just tell the truth, right? So what you realize is that that kid mindset, there's a lot of adult that still maneuver in that same realm because they didn't grow up to understand, hey, you're not perfect, man. Like, man or woman, like, it is what it is. Whatever the circumstance is, take ownership for it, be accountable, and then that's it. Like, you don't need to make no excuse. Like, that's only you denouncing yourself. That's only you lacking, power over yourself, because you have to, either you're so fearful or you're so ready to what's the word, you're so ready to like impress somebody else that you would make excuses, right? So for a lot of that, it's because it's immaturity where most people provide excuses, right? The complaining aspect, for most, it depends. It may be because you never grew up with support, right? So because of every hardship that's been going through your life, you steadily complaining about shit back and forth over and over, right? And the same reasoning where somebody didn't get no support and they become a complainer, they can become somebody that don't complain because it's an easier grasp and idealization of like, you know what's complaining gonna do anyway, right? Vice versa, you can have somebody who grew up with a silver spoon and complain a lot because once they complain, somebody else taking on they problems. You get what I'm saying? So, in many ways, there's not one particular way of upraising that wouldn't make you a complainer or somebody who makes excuses. The only way we can alter or falter the right and wrongs in our life is us having that approach and accountability, right? Having ownership, owning your vessel, right? Being conclusive to your idealization, being direct to your inner thoughts. So having that power, you realize again a lot of people don't have that power because again it's just not kids. It's just not kids that's complaining. It's just not kids that's making excuses. It's a lot of adults, you know. Some are a lot older than you or me and stuff like that. Some are a lot younger than you and me. But it's in the virtue of like it just keeps us in a society of being unhappy, you know, being being felt like we never have enough because the circumstances as compared to that circumstances seem to me good or bad or worse or better. You know what I mean? Like it's always some opposition where we don't have the ability to really hoist in the moment and appreciate the moment. You know what I'm saying? And embracing yourself means that you have to embrace the bad. You know what I'm saying? And while you embrace the bad, you got to embrace the good. So it's the yin and the yang that makes us, in totality, the balancing of peaceful souls that we can be. You know what I'm saying? Peace is a admiration where a lot of times you may think it's about not doing anything super solid and stuff like that. That's possible, but also peace can be something that you have to fight for, that you have to be loud and direct towards for. You know what I mean? So realistically, my reasoning behind this episode today is because in reality, life is moving. Life can be kicking our ass. So for me, for example, working how I'm working right now, I can't complain, and I won't complain in that admiration that I'm working a lot, I'm working hard. Why? Because one, I chose to work this much. Two, I'm appreciative to be working this much so I can get to my goals, right? So what's the complaint? What's the complaining for me, right? What's the excuses for me? Oh, I must work. I gotta work because I don't have no mom and dad and stuff like that. That's a terrible excuse. Why not just flip that to the opposition? Like I'm a grown ass man and I got goals and vision that I need to get to in order to get to do those things. I may have to work a little bit harder than the average man do, right? Because guess what? If I don't want my vision and goal, I don't have to fucking work. It's so easy to be bad. Like it takes nothing to be, not even say working is like meaning you're good, but I'm just saying to not do nothing. Like don't make a plan in this lifetime and see if life will make a plan for you. And it's a guarantee life will. It's a guarantee life will make a plan for you. Complaining about something that's uncontrollable, something over your head, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? The ramification for a lot of what's happening in our life is really our own doings. I used to think why me a lot, you know, from that aspect of like, because I had so much stuff that happened to me from an adolescent, young childhood that I felt like, damn, where's my protector? Why me? You know what I mean? I got older and said, you know what, that was just my young adolescent way. I don't understand why I had to go through that. Still didn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense now for me is that I had to, and it was meant for me, or I made myself go through that. The moment that I keep giving the freedom of power to the world, as far as like, oh, I was taken advantage of. I was just young. I didn't know what was going on, this, that, and third. Well, hello, the world's still going to have that power over me. So it doesn't matter what happens. I just know that I have a power to react. I have an ability to view what's happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be the happening. I can view what's happening. So I look at the virtue of our thought process to, you know what, to be honest, I don't care to do no editing and stuff like that. So we're just gonna rock it how it went. But again, the reason why I'm back and I'm refusing to stop is that I have no excuse. I have no complaints, you know. So whatever the reason of me having to stop at that moment and get a phone call is me having to be responsible amongst my time, being diverse enough to multitask. So I'm blessed I can do that. But like my statement again, doing this podcast takes commitment, takes dedication. Speaking when you don't necessarily want to speak. Knowing that you have to set time out so you can comply more episodes. Remaining consistent with that, right? The excuses that can be done in regards to, I don't have all the correct equipment for the best uh, sound effects, or I'm not at the best location, Like, it's a million excuses why I shouldn't do a episode. But guess what? Just do it and it's going to get done, right? There's a million complaints that I could have in regards to whether physically I'm tired or stuff like that. Who cares, right? You don't care, right? In actuality, how would you care? You know what I'm saying? If you really don't know. And some of that comes to showcase how strong you can be, right? Because a lot of time we want that feeling of like expressing any and everything, but what you don't realize as well with that is that, do you really have to? Is it really worth it to express every inner detail that you feeling? It's not. It is not. And the reason is that because emotions let you know, right? Throughout a day, you may feel a certain way. Maybe in the beginning of the day, you had a good morning, or maybe the next day it's a bad morning. Maybe the next day you had a great afternoon, but an okay afternoon the day before, right? So allowing your emotion to penetrate your life is where you live a life that's dictated off emotion, right? So the complaining aspect of how you view things goes off to the way that you're looking at life, right? Because what's motivation to somebody can be anxiety for the next person, can be fear, right? Danger. So how you comply to things is really perspective. It's all spectrum of perspective. And the main reasoning for this episode today is that you have to remain consistent. You have to remain consistent. It's in our doing, in order for us to do better in our doings, it takes that consistency. We have to remain consistent from our thought process, right? Not necessarily consistent in the action, but the thought process of being great or being better, right? Me wanting to be a better person, right? The actions may not assume to look the same every day, right? But being better isn't it's a motive. It's a positive emotion, right? And how that emotion is regulated, differentiate in so many ways, right? It opened up in so many different options and opportunities that's available. So the whole process and having that accountability to where complaint doesn't consult your life is that, hey, you can speak about what's not, what you feel as adequately not good for you or bad for you, anything like that, right? You can speak anything to that nature, but also it's about knowing that that's exactly what it is. It's just the nature of your viewership or something, right? So complaining is merely the factor of you releasing your inner detail of expressions, but you have to understand the difference in complaining for a negative assessment of yourself or your surrounding, or complaining from the idealization of saying, you know what, I'm going to use this in ways to better myself. I'm going to utilize this in ways to comply a solution from whatever I'm gathering that could be something in frustration, right? Same with the idealization of excuses. Excuses conform to the perspective of not being able to take accountability, right? Lacking ownership to whatever it is that you're making such excuse about. So flipping something from an excuse to something positive is just you advising that again, imperfection is us as human, right? So if you understand that taking away excuse would be in a virtue of I got this, or I'll do better, or I'm not able to do right now, but I'll do later, right? The factor of saying, you know what, I can't do it now because it's too hard, or I don't have help, and all these factors that goes into that. Those are the excuses that takes away the strength and power of your own mind, your own soul to get you adequately to where you need to get to, right? So really, from complaining to excuses, the two words that you can apply in a rotational flip that would converse in those negative complaining and excuses to positive would be accountability, taking ownership, right? It just really simplifies your life once you have ownership of your life, right? Meaning that how things go by people, places, and things, a lot of that is going to be out of your control. But your emotion, how you react, your energy, all of that is your control. All those things are the biggest key that you would need in the life that you live to succeed. You know, so in all, it's been a blessing to express my thoughts, clarify such with you. So yeah, super thankful and grateful that I was able to implement those differences for me. I definitely extend to you my admiration and peace, prosperity to tranquilize the unity of power for you all. May you affirm, visualize, manifest the goals, the purpose of your life. May you be closer aligned to such. Again, the best thing to remember about this life of ours is that the best human, it could be you. The worst human could be you. We are the perfect imperfection. So in your time of imperfection, remember that your perfection is that we all have our wrongs, and the rights is that we can do better. And if you have the freedom of choice to do better, shall you do better? You get me? So don't be too hard on yourself, but never be too low on yourself. It's a median balance, you know. You got to have immaculate self-love, but also you have to understand everything that's happening to you is a part of life. Some of them you can't control, some of them is uncontrollable, and you got to stay up to par. Self-love, we're going to remind you that whatever is needed to be done, that's what's needed to be done, right? Everybody's need is going to be different, right? Some person may need to only work 2 or 3 days to conquer their goal. The next person may have to work all 7 days, but the sacrifices of our life is all going to be depending on what we're willing to do. So again, that be your host, Jim S. Peter Bastion. Thank you for your time, your cooperation and understanding. Self-love remains the best love, the only way we can get to world love. This has been another episode of the MB19 podcast show. Grateful as thankful as stated earlier. If you're breathing, remember you're achieving. The first step of any success remains your breath. Great day ahead to you, a great day ahead to me, to the universe. Much love.